Alright, so this is part 3 of my Oscar coverage for this year, and we're going to be talking about Best Costume Design. So let's get right into it. The nominees are The Grand Budapest Hotel, Milena Canonero; Inherent Vice, Mark Bridges; Into the Woods, Colleen Atwood; Maleficent, Anna B. Shepherd; and Mr. Turner, Jacqueline Duran. Now this is honestly kind of a normal, solid list for costume design. Nothing really stands out for me that much, but I just want to take this opportunity to mention some of the snubs that I feel like the Academy really made this year. Not necessarily in this category, but I think Mr. Turner, the movie, deserved way more than just like the Oscar nominations it got this year. I think Timothy Spall in that movie was good enough to be best actor material, and the movie itself I think is good enough to be best picture worthy. It's just my opinion though. Same with Foxcatcher as well, but that's another story for another time. But getting right to it, for who I think should win the Oscar, at fifth place I'm gonna put Maleficent. Maleficent's outfit in the movie, like, I think is really, really cool because it's both kind of sinister and gorgeous at the same time. For me, it really does reflect the conflicted nature of her character, that she is, doing bad things, but deep down she still is kind of a good person. And this movie does get plus points for being able to trace how Maleficent and King Stefan's costumes kind of evolved from childhood to adulthood. They look very, very different, but you can still kind of see, the decay setting in. Overall, the costume design in Maleficent is good, but it's really honestly Maleficent's outfit that is the only real standout. I mean, everything else is kind of generic, honestly, although it's still all very, very lavish. It just does not have the same kind of personality. At fourth place, I'm going to put Mr. Turner. Now, Mr. Turner, I think, is an example of, a movie with very kind of conventional costume design, in the sense that it really is just kind of a straight period drama, but, it just happens to be extremely well done costume design. I mean, the period detail in this movie in every aspect is absolutely impeccable. Every single costume is so good to look at. It just all looks incredible. The whole movie really feels like you're actually in the 19th century. And you can really see it in that, when the rich in the art galleries are strutting around, their costumes just feel like it's from that era. They didn't try to dress these people up in modern outfits and just, kind of adjusted and tweaked. And you can definitely see it in the poorer characters in the movie. They really feel like they're just dressed in rags. It's not very glamorous for them, but it really helps immerse you in the time period. And very subtle changes occur in the way people look. Maybe that's more of like makeup and hairstyling, but I think costume design also helps out. As Turner's life and mental state, go on and deteriorate, you really just kind of see subtle changes in the environment. At number 3, I'm going to put Inherent Vice. And just like Mr. Turner, I think the period detail in this movie is once again replicated pretty much perfectly, in my opinion. There's this real glamour to go along with the sloppiness and the unruliness of this period. It's 1970, everyone's high, and it's incredible to see. The costumes in this movie also benefit greatly from the whole turn of the decade kind of explosion of colors from, moving from the 60s to the 70s. It's also, again, influenced, like I mentioned, by the fact that pretty much everyone in this movie is high, especially Doc, played by Joaquin Phoenix. He just gets more and more high as the movie goes on, and, just the colors in the movie just really kind of accentuate that, I think. There's also just something so melancholic and artificial in the way these people dress, like it kind of puts everyone at an equal level. To me, Inherent Vice is a movie that doesn't really have a real kind of villain, and everyone really is just kind of in the same boat, and I think the costume design kind of expresses that in just interesting way. At number 2, surprisingly, I'm going to put Into the Woods. The costumes in Into the Woods managed to feel very stagey, but at the same time very authentic at the same time, in that the costumes end up occupying this space between reality and parable, because Into the Woods, the story really is just a giant parable, but it doesn't feel like what they're wearing is fake. It really just feels like all these fairy tale characters are existing in the same world, and the world feels real. And the costumes have an actual function in the storytelling, I feel, beyond just being ornamental. Like you think of Red Riding Hood and how her hood kind of changes throughout the story. The wolf like pretty much comes off as a sexual predator, and he's opening up his coat, the Red Riding Hood and whatnot. The witch, played by Meryl Streep, like does also change outfit when something happens to her. And the princess, of course, have their big number on the waterfall where they just kind of tear open their shirts and whatnot. And the changes in the costumes, like I mentioned for the witch, more often than not reflect the changes in the characters as well. Like you can really see this with Cinderella becoming kind of delusional whenever she puts on the ball gown. But at number one, and who I think should win the Oscar, is again the Grand Budapest Hotel. You can just really tell that each costume in this movie has a specific function in accordance with the character's occupation and personality. Every single member of the Grand Budapest Hotel staff really feels like they are a maid and a butler and a lobby boy and whatnot. And for me, it's not just mere costume design in this movie. It's really just full-on world building. Yeah, like I mentioned, the staff of the hotel, the Society of the Crossed Keys, they really have their own unique look that would not have worked in the hands of another director. And you really kind of get to observe how the costumes become less and less glamorous as the movie jumps forward in time. And that really just supports the message of the film about how all grand things just eventually lead to ruins in the end. And I think that's a really kind of beautiful and sad thing. And in my opinion, the movie that will win the Oscar is still The Grand Budapest Hotel. Again, it has 9 nominations. It's just way too flashy for the Academy to ignore. Every other movie in this list is kind of deserving as well, but The Grand Budapest Hotel is definitely going to take it. So those are my thoughts on the best costume design category for this year. Who do you think should win? Who do you think will win? Whatever you think, whether you agree with me or not, please leave me a comment. Let's have a conversation.